Happy Easter, everybody! Trevor here, and welcome to a brand new Top 5 video. And because it's Easter weekend, I thought I'd do a Top 5 Easter Specials video just before the holiday is over. I mean, I was originally going to have the last video to be the final video for March, but since I have enough time, I thought I'd make this anyway just to celebrate Easter. By the way, Easter's my second most favorite holiday of all time, not just because of the chocolate Easter bunny and candies, but also the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is the most important thing about Easter, which I'll get to later. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at these top 5 Easter cartoons, shall we? Number 5. The Easter Bunny is coming to town. When it comes to Rankin Bass special celebrating Easter, this is my favorite of the bunch, mainly because of the Yellow Engine character Chugs. After all, I am a huge train fan, as you all already know. It's also my favorite when it comes to the origin story of the Easter Bunny, who is named Sunny in this, by the way. However, the reason why this is so low on the list is because it borrows a bunch of elements from the original Santa Claus is Coming to Town special from 1970. For example, Gadzooks, the giant bear, takes the role of Winter Warlock, and Lily Longtooth takes the role of the Burgermeister Meisterburger. But to be quite honest, I don't mind this 1977 Easter cartoon copying those elements because I still think it's as well written as the original Christmas special from 1970. For instance, I like that Chugs was inspired by the Santa's reindeer and sleigh. And I also love the chocolate Easter Bunny scene because it's so delicious. Oh, I even love the fact that Fred Astaire returns as the narrator for this cartoon, like how he was in Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I think it's a very nice touch. So all in all, despite ripping off elements from the 1970 Christmas special, I still think this is my most favorite of the Easter specials for these reasons alone. And if you're a train fanatic like I am, you might enjoy this one too. Number 4 is Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Mystery of the Easter Chipmunk. Another thing you don't know about me is that I loved Alvin and the Chipmunks, particularly the originals. And besides, I'm not a huge fan of the modern designs. Anyways, the plot of this story is that the Chipmunks give their Easter goodies to their grandpa, who only appears in this special, at the Happy Farm Resort before meeting the real Easter Bunny named Mr. Hoppity. The grandpa also confesses that he was the original Easter Chipmunk, though Alvin doesn't believe him at first. I was originally not going to include this one on the list because I haven't seen it in a very long time, but for the sake of this video, I thought I'd add it in anyway because, as I've said, I loved the original Alvin and the Chipmunks, especially those from the 80s and 90s. One scene I vaguely remember seeing was the court scene where Mr. Hoppity was involved, and Alvin was trying to win the case, but failed. Sorry this candidate was a bit short here, but I wanted to add it anyway because, like I said, I still love the old Alvin and the Chipmunks cartoons, and that I wanted to include at least one of their specials just for this top 5 video. And if you're a fan of Alvin and the Chipmunks, then I would recommend this one to you. Number 3. Yogi the Easter Bear. While I'm not a huge fan of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that are designed for television, my most favorite of the bunch would have to be Yogi Bear because sometimes I love to camp, especially with my family, and I sometimes like to listen to the quiet sounds of nature like the birds. Anyways, in this Easter special, Yogi Bear disguises himself as the Easter Bunny so that he could eat all the children's Easter goodies until he got into serious trouble with Ranger Smith, who threatened to send him to the Siberian circus as punishment. And that's when Yogi realized that he made a huge mistake, so he decided to make up for it by finding the real Easter Bunny and bringing him to Jellystone Park. But along the way, they had to save the bunny from the evil clutches of Polly and Ernest, who run a plastic egg factory. Fun fact, this Yogi Bear movie was the last one ever made until that crappy and forgettable live-action adaptation came along. Not to mention that this was Don Messick's last role as Boo Boo and Ranger Smith before his death in the late 1990s. Also, I thought the voice acting was spectacular, especially Charlie Adler as Polly and Rob Paulsen as the Easter Bunny. They're both hilarious in my opinion. So, in conclusion, Yogi the Easter Bear deserves the number 3 spot for these reasons alone. If you're a massive Yogi Bear fan like I am, then I suggest you give this a watch. Number 2. It's the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown. I decided to make this my number 2 choice because I'm a huge fan of Peanuts, especially the holiday specials. In fact, I miss the good old days when Camp Snoopy was a thing in Mall of America. Anyways, in this special, the Peanuts gang was getting ready for Easter, but Linus tries to convince everyone that it's all a waste of time and that the Easter Beagle will take care of everything. Unfortunately, no one believes him at first, except of course Sally, though she remains skeptical of the Great Pumpkin on Halloween. What I love about this Easter special is not only the calming piano music by Vince Guaraldi, but also the very funny moments such as the birdhouse sequence, as well as the parts where Peppermint Patty was trying to teach Marcy how to make Easter eggs, only for them to get ruined in the end several times, much to Peppermint Patty's annoyance. Oh, and I also love the fantasy sequence where Snoopy was dancing with white rabbits, which I thought was pretty cute. And did you know that this special won a Primetime Emmy Award along with Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown? Learn something new every day, am I right? Overall, this is definitely one of the best cartoons in the 1970s along with the Easter Bunnies Coming to Town. If you're a massive Peanuts fan like I am, I suggest you don't miss out on this cartoon because it's just that great of an Easter special. Before we get to number 1, I just want to give a couple honorable mentions. The very first Easter Bunny. It would have been number 5. Here Comes Peter Cottontail. It also would have been number 5 because it's been a while since I've seen it. However, the best thing about it is Vincent Price's performance as Irontail, who was the main antagonist of that cartoon. And the number 1 spot goes to various adaptations on the Easter story. I decided to make these number 1 because this is the true meaning of Easter. In fact, there are many of them that are actually good. For example, 2 of the many I remember the most was the Hanna-Barbera adaptation of the Easter story, as well as the Story Keepers version. And of course, if you're a Christian like I am, then you'll know how the story goes. Jesus gets arrested by the Romans, gets whiplashed at least 40 times or so, gets painfully nailed onto the crucifix, and dies after saying his last words. It's quite a tragic and emotional story, I know, but don't worry, he does rise again from the dead on the 3rd day, much to everyone's delight. And those are all the reasons why the Easter story deserves the number 1 spot on this list. In fact, it's more important than the Easter Bunny stories because it's the truth. If Jesus hadn't died on the cross for our sins, we wouldn't have any faith or hope whatsoever, so therefore, I'm glad this story happened. Now let me know in the comment section below on which of these Easter specials are your favorite. Do you agree with my list, or do you have your own personal preference? And don't worry, I promise for real this time that this is the final video for March 2024, because I'm planning on going back to Thomas stuff again eventually. This is Trevor Davis signing off and saying, Happy Easter, everyone!